Students, today we're going to be talking about net present value, and I'm going to do my best to simplify this concept for you. Before we get started, I would kindly ask that you hit the like button. I would be forever grateful to you if you did so. Okay, let's go ahead and jump in here. Let's take a quick step back so that we can move forward into NPV. So, present value, I want to talk about this really quickly. Again, we have our periods, we have our interest rate, we have our present value, and we have our future value. Something I want to stress about this is that present value is effectively today, and our future value is sometime in the future, right? Okay, so we all know that when we have a dollar amount in the future and we want to find what the present value is, typically that amount tends to get smaller, right? So as it moves through time backwards, the discount rate has a larger impact on this future value amount. It has a larger impact, therefore the present value gets smaller. So what causes the dollar amount to become smaller today? Number one, we have the size of the discount rate. We know that if the discount rate is larger, our present value is going to become smaller. And then number two is the time distance from today. So that means that a dollar amount that's further out will have more time periods to be discounted, and then therefore the present value amount will be smaller. If the number of periods is larger, the present value is smaller. So those two factors work together to tell us what kind of impact the present value dollar amount has. Okay, I hope that was clear. Let's get moving here. So the elements of net present value, I'm going to go based on the letters here. A, we have our initial investment. B, we have our discount rate. C, we have our cash flows, cash flow 1, cash flow 2, cash flow 3, and so on. And D is our number of periods and time. Okay? All right, let's get going here. So, net present value simplified. What do we have here? Net. What does it mean? I feel like this word net present value, sometimes to students sounds like it's not really English, right? So I'm going to simplify this for you. Net is just the sum of all the dollar amounts, okay? And present value includes the initial investment and the future cash flows in today's dollars. So net present value just means that we're going to add our initial investment and the present value of all the future cash flows. And when we add them together, we get an NPV, a net present value. Okay? All right, I hope that was clear. Let's keep moving. So let's do this example here. We're going to do NPV with no discount rate. Our discount rate is going to be 0%. Okay? So that means that 1 year from now, if we have $100, that $100 is worth $100 today. Okay? The discount rate is 0, meaning we're not discounting at all, right? The discount rate is 0. All right, so let's say, for example, we have a present value of 200. Let's call this 200,000 to keep things interesting, right? And we know that we're going to have cash flow 1 of 100,000, cash flow 2 of 100,000, and cash flow 3 of 100,000 in year 1, year 2, and year 3 respectively, right? Now, if the discount rate is 0, there is no discounting. So the present value of that first cash flow 1 is still 100,000. The present value of that cash flow 2 is also 100,000, and cash flow 3 is 100,000. Now, one thing I want to point out is this present value, this is our initial investment, so it's going to be negative. So, like I said, net just means sum. It's that simple. We're going to add up our initial investment and the 3 future cash flows in today's dollars, right? So negative 200 plus 300 gives me a net present value of 100,000. Okay, so that's all net present value is. That's all it is. Let's keep going. I have one more example. NPV with a 50% discount rate. Now, for this example, we are going to have to grab our financial calculator, but let's keep things the same. $200,000 investment, 50% discount rate, 100,000 for cash flow 1, 100,000 for cash flow 2, and 100,000 for cash flow 3. Okay, so let's grab our financial calculator, and we're going to use our time value of money to just discount each one of these individually, just so you guys can see how the net present value process actually works. Okay, all right, so let's do the first one. So 1 year, discount rate is 50%. We're looking for present value. There are no payments, and that future value is 100,000. Okay. All right, we're going to compute for present value. So we have 66,666 and 66 cents. Okay, we're going to keep this as positive, right? Because they're cash flows that are promised to us, despite the fact that the calculator is telling us it's negative. So we're just going to keep this simple. We're going to do 66.7 thousand. So 66.7 thousand. Now we're going to discount this for 2 years. We're just going to change the periods to 2. And we're going to compute our present value. So 44.4 thousand. And now let's discount this back 3 years, compute present value 29,000.6. So 29,000.6. Okay, now all I'm going to do is add up all of these together. I'm going to take my 200,000. Okay, going to make that negative. I'm going to add 66.7 plus 44.4 plus 29.6. Okay, and that gives me negative 59.3. Negative 59.3 thousand. Okay, so that means that despite the fact that we're getting $300,000 in total, this discount rate makes it so that the present value of the initial investment and all the cash flows is actually negative. Okay, I'm going to talk about what the positives and negatives mean in NPV shortly. Okay, all right, so we're going to interpret the results here. Of course, this is all based on the discount rate. Let me just take a step back. If we made this, let's say we made this 25%. It could be possible that it's still negative. But if we made it 12.5%, then this project might be a net present value positive project. So NPV is very much dependent on the discount rate that we give it to try to figure out, hey, is this a project that we should take on? Okay? All right, so what does this mean? Interpreting the results of NPV. If we have a positive NPV, it means that when we compare all of the cash flows in today's dollar amounts, the impact to our business, let's say, is going to be a positive dollar amount. So let's say that you own a company and you want to take on this project. It's going to cost you a $200,000 investment, and you're promised these $100,000 cash flows in the future. When we compare all of them in today's dollars, that means that we're bringing $100,000 worth of value to the company today, as opposed to this example where we have a 50% discount, which I know is kind of an exaggerated example, right? We're going to make that same $200,000 investment. We're going to get the same cash flows. However, this would actually reduce the value of your business by $59,000 because the discount rate is just too high. It's not going to be worth your time to make the investment. Maybe at 25%, it's worth it. Maybe at 12.5%. We'd have to do the math to actually see that, right? But net present value helps us understand in today's dollars whether we should take on an investment. Okay, so NPV positive, we're bringing positive value to our company. We should take on the project. A negative NPV means that the cash flows based on the discount rate are not enough, meaning we would actually lose money, lose value for the company. And an NPV 0 just tells us that that's going to break even. This is actually called the internal rate of return for the discount rate, but that's another video. I will get into internal rate of return. Okay? All right, so I just want to leave you with this takeaway. NPV allows us to compare all of the dollar values, the initial investment and the future cash flow, in today's dollars. This part is critical, in today's dollars. Okay? It's really hard for us to compare, a $200,000 investment with future cash flows. It's really hard to know what the value of it's all going to be in today's dollars. So that's why it's really important that we compare in today's dollars, okay? And it also gives us an understanding of the net value in today's dollars. I feel like I'm repeating myself, right? Helps us determine if we should accept or reject an investment. All right, so that was a quick video. I hope that simplified net present value. I will link you guys to the questions that I give my students for homework for net present value, and I hope those will be helpful in getting you guys some practice. If you got some value out of this video, please hit the like button, and I will see you in the next one.